I seem to be in a bit of a GM kick. Today we're going to take apart an L83, which is a 5th generation GM small block V8. It's 5.3 liters, 355 horsepower. Now this is not the first Gen 5 LT based engine I've torn down on the channel. I did an L86 a little over a year ago, but this is the first 5.3 I've had on the channel from this generation. And when I talk about generations of 5.3s, the Gen 3 and Gen 4 are pretty similar. I mean, there are some major differences, but a lot of those parts are interchangeable, and that can't be said for the Gen 5. The Gen 5 got direct injection, a variable oil pump. It's a lot different. A lot of the castings are kind of similar, but nothing really fits from the earlier engines. Now, this is not just any old L83. This is out of my friend Mike's truck. And Mike said he was driving down the road, kind of in it, which probably means wide open throttle, and it made a couple noises and then it turned off. And then he had to have it towed, and then he had to replace the engine because he pulled the plug out and it was mechanically regapped. So here it is. And I don't know what failed on it. He asked for the heads back, so hopefully the head survived. But I will say that the block looks like it's hatching something. There seems to be some block modifications going on in the middle of the passenger side of this engine. I reckon something tried to make an escape. Well, let's start with the left valve cover. It looks pretty good in here. I don't see anything, no signs of metal really. I don't see any forbidden glitter. Let's pull the rockers and see what the push rods look like. That one's got some damage to it. Some of these are pretty beat up, but I don't think any of these are bent yet. I know it might be hard to see, but there's a little bit of damage on this push rod. I mean, a couple of the others have some marks on them as well, like they made contact with some flying material, which I bet we'll find once we get this engine apart. Now let's crack these head bolts loose. Now this head bolt in the front of both heads is actually a hex socket or an Allen socket. I don't really know why they chose a different fastener, but I'm sure there's a logical reason. Okay, that's all that holds these heads in. Unlike the predecessor, the Gen 4 and the Gen 3, there are no other head bolts. It's just the ones that surround the combustion chambers.
Let go.
Well, the good news is it appears that all the pistons are facing the right direction, but we got to see if there's any disconnecting rods here. Okay, this all seems okay. Wait a minute. What is this? Well, that's a large chunk. That's almost a nugget, and it was in the lifter tray. That is not a good sign. All of this looks pretty good. It is kind of dirty. There's a lot of debris, probably from this engine sitting around without an intake on it. I don't think engines have leaves. So yeah, that's definitely some outside stuff. But the bores look pretty good. There's a little bit of rust here at the top. It's not terrible. Well, yeah, it's not terrible. Now for the passenger or right side. Well, at first glance, I don't see anything too terrible. I expected to see something, I'll be honest with you guys. I thought for sure we'd see a broken valve spring, but I don't see it. Everything looks okay. Let's get these rockers off and pull the push rods. You know, these push rods are in pretty good shape. When I talked about that hex bolt, it's actually only on the other bank. It's not on this bank. This bank has only 15 millimeter head bolts. Now these heads are sealed pretty good, so it takes a little bit of force to get these off. Well, this isn't a good sign. Oh, there's stuff in here. A nugget. A piston nugget. Here, we'll go keep that with the others. Wow. It's broken pretty bad. You know, GM has had displacement on demand for a very long time, but apparently in Gen 5 they take it very seriously because it deleted an entire piston. It's just gone. I'm sure the wrist pin is okay though. Now we're going to remove the valley cover, which is called the VLOM. I like to say it's a very likely and obvious malfunction, but it actually stands for Valley Lifter Oil Manifold. And we're going to see if we can see any damage behind this. Oh, stubborn. Blue. Well, you can definitely tell that that bore is beat. And he did say it happened at some higher RPM. Apparently all of the RPM until it had none. Inside the valley looks pretty reasonable, except there's a couple pieces of metal in here. One there and one right there. Now we'll pull the lifters. Oh, shrapnel.
I did not want that to happen.
So the rollers all spin pretty freely, but there is some damage to them from debris running through them. I don't see any obviously destroyed lifters. We have definitely seen that on this channel. But let's talk about the lifter galleys here. There's some pieces and chunks. This is the right side. But the driver's side, left side, much bigger pieces. That's not good. All right, now we can get the harmonic balancer off. Now, unfortunately, Gen 5 push rods are a thicker diameter and they don't fit in my puller. So we're going to have to use this bent rod. It'll be fine. It's okay using a bent rod. It's just fine. Now let's get this timing cover off. Did I miss some bolts? No. These are just a lot better sealed than the previous generations. Okay. I see. I don't see any threaded holes that I would use to push this off.
I don't really think I should get the bigger bar for this. Yep, I didn't miss anything.
There we go. Just took a little patience here. So I didn't really plan that very well. I probably should have left a bolt in it. It's fine. So this is that variable oil pump. We'll pull this apart in a minute. I gotta fish this connector out of here. It's gonna be fine. Of course, it has one of those red locking tabs. You know, you love those things, right? They're great. I don't know why they didn't put a connector on the timing cover. Like a logical, it's fine. I'm going to stop complaining. Maybe, oh, I think this comes out. Oh, that did not do what I wanted to. There we go. Just pull that clip out. Pull the electronics out of the pump. Now let's see if we can pull this cam gear. You know what? I know how to do this. So I'm going to attempt to turn the engine over to where one of these flat spots will allow the cam gear to sink far enough so I can get the chain off of it. So we can do this now instead of later. It's going to make some unhappy noises. It's fine. This was a good idea, I thought. Yeah, there we go. I just had to have it in the right spot. Oh, it's so close. I don't know if I can do this. This works really well on Gen 3 and 4. It does not appear to work on Gen 5. Nope, don't like that. Let's keep trying a little bit here. But I wonder if I can pull the oil pump and slide it back enough. I don't think I can pull the oil pump with the pan on it. But I really want to pull the cam with the engine in this position. Well, that didn't really help me out. It's just enough to where I can't do this. I still don't want to give up, but I'm going to have to give up. Well, that's not going to work. I can see it. It's like right there. Oh, man. Let's flip this thing over. Ooh, that might not be a great idea. I might just pull the pan the way it is. Let's see if we can get any more juices out of it. Yeah, it's a cash register. You can hear stuff floating around in there. All right, well, let's just pull the pan the way it sits. I think that's going to be the least amount of mess. Now, I have a feeling I need to pull this part first, but we're going to try not to do that. I can't remember. This shouldn't be too bad. Oh. Oh no, I can get off in one piece. Nice. Oh my God. Yes. So the inside of the pan, pretty rough, but of course, a perfect, ready to install wrist pin every time. There's the top side of a rod. See that split? These don't make the best hammers. And then, of course, lots and lots of piston nuggets. Oh, that's a rod nugget there. There's a piston squirter. Uh-oh. That's a destroyed bearing. No, actually, this is the bushing for the wrist pin. That's what that is. Look at all these piston nuggets. This all came from one? That's hard to believe. There's so much of it. But I bet we're going to find a lot more. Let's get this windage tray off of the pan. Wow, look at that windage tray. I guess these are just, that's just a design to do that. Wow, there is a lot of stuff in here. Whew. Ring, ring, ring. Somebody get the phone. So much piston in here. Oh, there's a section of rod. I can't believe how much stuff is in here. This can't just be one. We have all sizes too. Something for everyone. The volume of material in this pan is just impressive. There is so much in here. If this came from one piston, I'm going to be really surprised, because there's just every corner piles of piston, rod. Looks like we got another ring here. That's like a good collection right there. Oh, there's a circlip. I'm gonna have to pour this out. This is likely gonna make a mess. Don't care. Will you stop leaking? Well, I got some of it. A lot of it, really. There's still so much more in here. I could jar this up. Piston gravel is what this is. Now, the odd thing here is I don't see... There's no really large pieces. This is the biggest piece. I'm so impressed. Mike, you did a good job. This is just, it's like a piston bomb went off inside of here. And there's piles and piles. I can't believe this is just one. Well, we won't know until we flip this block over and take a look. But first, let's see if we can get that cam out. Now I should be able to slide this oil pump off. I'll open this up in a minute. Also a very heavy oil pump. Now I should be able to get the chain, very short chain, not very useful. Well, that part's the exact same as a Gen 3 or 4. I don't know if I can get this cam out. I feel like there's some block damage that's keeping this from coming out. I really don't know where it's getting hung up at. Okay, well, we're going to flip this engine over, and maybe we'll just pull the cam last. Oh, yeah. Well, that's pretty bad, folks. That is not good. Well, as you can see, The block is just a little broken. And the crank is, well, it's hammer forged. Now this still feels like it has nice bearings in it. So I don't think this was an oiling issue whatsoever, but we won't know until we get this apart. This feels nice. But it looks like there's damage to every single rod and piston, which they all had to work together to grind that one piston down that far, and I bet we'll find chunks missing out of maybe another one. We'll find out. Let's start pulling some rods and pistons. First, let's see if we can turn this over so we can pull the pistons and rods from front to back. Ideal. Now, normally I wouldn't use an impact on this, but that was so much easier than oh, come on. That was easier, but give me my, there we go. Easiest rod removal yet. It still doesn't turn over great considering there's only 4 rods and pistons left. And the final 2. Now it turns pretty easy. This one's being a little pesky here. Oh, can't bear to see this bearing back here. Well, the bearings actually look pretty good. There is a little bit of wear, but it's not bad at all. They get a little worse as you get towards the back of the engine. That shell is actually next to the camshaft. We'll get that out when we get the crank out. That's probably the worst bearing set there. And they're really not bad. Now the rods and pistons are another story. Every single one of these rods and pistons has damage. Some of them aren't too bad. A few chips, a couple impact marks. But then some of them are really bad. That one's got a couple marks at the bottom. This one, that's the companion to the one that deleted itself. It's got chunks missing out of the bottom. So much damage. It's almost like it blew up at redline, or at least wide open throttle. And of course, that one's gone. And actually, this piston here was hiding some more nuggets. It was right up there at the top above the wrist pin. Yeah, they're all really beat up. And there's not a ton of skirt wear. Not bad. Now this one's got a chunk missing out of it on both sides. Pretty good size chunk. What's really odd is I can't get this rod back together. That will not bolt. One of these has been distorted, probably from smashing into this one. And yeah, you'd think that I'd get some rods and pistons out of this, but no. They all have impact marks. This is probably the best one here. And then at the very back, of course, some more damage. Nothing was spared. Let's get started pulling the crank. First we'll pull this cover off. Probably should have done this already. Oh, look. A part of a piston. It's everywhere. And now we can pull the crank. The main bearings aren't terrible. There is a little bit of wear on that shell there, but for the most part, they look okay. Now, all the journals on the crank look pretty good, but we expected them to because none of the bearings were torn up. But the counterbalances on the crank, they are beat up. There's lots and lots of impact marks. I wouldn't want to use this crank after that amount of violence. It's definitely going to be jaded after that. I don't think it could recover. The funniest thing to me is what happened to the piston squirter. So this is the sole survivor. That one's been deleted. Those two are gone. Gone. And this one right here is probably why we can't get the cam out. That piston squirter was bent into that lobe, and that is the lobe that drives the fuel pump. So that's a bigger lobe. So we're going to bend that out of the way and see if we can pull that cam out. I already fished that bearing shell out of here. Now we can see if we can pull the cam. Yeah, that was it. Hopefully I can get this all the way out. Well, the cam definitely has some battle wounds. This thing was attacked on all sides here. That is definitely destined for the scrap bin. Well, I guess I was right. All that material in the pan is not just from one piston. It's also from the block. That is a lot of damage. And no, you can't fix this with ramen noodles. And there's the one that actually broke the outside of the block. Pretty impressive. No, I didn't forget. It's time to pull the oil pump apart. So this is a vane style pump. And it has this spring that's gonna, okay, I'll pull it out. But first, let's see if we can pull this out. So all this looks pretty good. All the little veins look good. I don't really think this engine had enough time for anything to run through here. It's kind of like a transmission pump. Let's see, will this come off of here? Oh, this feels like it's dangerous. You know, this is dangerous. Let's keep pulling this apart. Is that it? Does it not come apart? Am I missing a step here? Well, I do have blue here. Oh, there's a dowel. There we go. So that's just a plate. There's the rest of the oil pump. That part of it's pretty simple. Now these are variable, to reduce drag and increase fuel efficiency. It's probably why they did this, because this is completely different than Gen 3 and 4, much more complicated. I shouldn't take that out. But a man's got to do what a man's got to do. This is precarious here. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, come on. I have no idea where that spring went, but it didn't hit me, and that's all that matters. Still waiting for that spring to come down. It's pretty difficult to say what happened here. I don't think it was hydrolocked with water. Mike wasn't driving his truck in the rain when it blew up, and we didn't see any signs of water on the inside of this engine. I don't think it was oil related. All the journals looked nice. The bearings were pretty much perfect. Even the lifters were good, which says a lot for one of these engines. It was really clean on the inside, and I know Mike definitely maintains his vehicles. There is one small detail I left out at the beginning of this video. Mike's truck is not stock. It has a bunch of modifications, and it's been tuned. So maybe something was wrong with the tune, maybe a little too much timing. That could certainly blow one of these engines apart. But this is just the first L83 I've seen. So what do you guys think? What blew up this engine? Was it some outside factor? Was it tune related? Maybe it was over revved. Maybe the shift points were set too high. The rev limiter was set too high. It's really hard to say. Everything was just so destroyed on the inside of this engine. I have virtually nothing to sell, which is fine. I didn't pay anything for this engine, and Mike got some free labor and got his heads back, although I don't know that I would use those. If you'd like to buy parts off of any of the other engines I've torn down or off of this lifted 07 4Runner, I'm going to leave our email in the video description. You can also go to importapart.com and peruse our inventory. I've been uploading our recent parts cards with price lists. If you don't see what you're looking for, you can fill out our part request form, and it sends us an email of exactly what you're looking for. Incidentally, this 4Runner has a 4-liter in it. It's the 1GR. It's not good. So you will see this engine in a future teardown, I promise. No idea when that'll happen, but it's definitely something you should look forward to. As always, I love all the comments, all the feedback, and even the criticism. I love it all, and I'll catch you on the next one.